Red wine. Oh, do you rarely drink red wine? Got nothing else to offer you. In fact, all I've got really is whiskey, and that's all mine. So I guess you guys are screwed. Sorry about that. Hey, folks. So glad you could make it to Kilty's Tavern. Bar is always open. So, how are you all? Hope you're doing very well. Cheers, you all. Now, today we're going to go back, way back, because the thing that got me into horror movies in the first place, well, just movies in general, really, is the old Universal horror movies. You know, the vintage, crinkly, creased up, speckly, blared, warbly sounded old vintage versions that you saw on BBC Two on a double bill every Friday or Saturday night. Awesome stuff. And the one we're going to go back to now is a Universal first stab at Edgar Allan Poe with Murders in the Rue Morgue. And the reason why I'm doing this is because Eureka in the UK have put out a fabulous, here it is now, box set of the three original Universal movies, Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Black Cat and The Raven, all Edgar Allan Poe adaptations and all pre-Hays Code. Yes, the all-important Hays Code, which changed horror forever. Well, for a few years. Up until the Second World War, that kind of stuff. Because the thing about these movies, from Dracula and Frankenstein onwards during this pre-Hays Code phase, you may think that they're just quaint, cosy, old black and white horrors. You can hear the people tapping about on the wooden floorboards of the sets, and there's nothing to worry about. Watch those films again. Bestiality, necrophilia, torture, sadism, psychomania. There's all sorts of taboo stuff which is going on, and this is what the Hays Code was all about. It wasn't necessarily so much what you saw on screen, although they didn't like that either, but it was the themes which were running through these movies. These subversive sort of notions and ideas. Mad doctors aplenty, which is what 1932's Murders in the Rue Morgue, directed by Robert Florey, is all about. A mad doctor called Dr. Miracle. It should be Miracle, really, shouldn't it? But it's Miracle, who in early 19th century France, Paris, is sort of secreted away in this carnival with his giant ape, which is possibly a missing link. And his notion is to, you're way ahead of me, aren't you? He wants it to procreate with a normal modern human lady to see what the next offshoot will be. So his mad experiments, which are being conducted in some sort of tenement, sort of basement building, which is right beside, the canals and the river. Well, it's a river, isn't it? It's the Seine, isn't it? That's the one. Yeah, we're in Paris, aren't we? And when certain women who he's snatched off the street, they're always doing that, aren't they? There's a street out there. I never see any women going past our street. That's because they've already been snatched. Yes. Snatched probably by my friend here, Mr. Kentucky Fudge, who's been conducting his own experiments and trying to find a mate. Unsuccessfully, I might add. I don't know why, he's a good looking chap. Anyway, and he learned from the best. So, when he does his blood experiments with these ladies, who happen to be crucified, to some rickety wooden cross, and their blood doesn't really match up, or they've got bad blood, corrupt blood. What's that meant to mean? Yeah, they've been sleeping around. So, les hussies. So what happens then? He gets his already ape-like henchman, played by Noble Johnson. Noble Johnson, folks, was Hollywood's go-to guy in the 30s. He was in every bloody film going. He could play henchman, he could play, warlords, he could play a Chinaman, he could play a Latino, an Amazon warlord. He played black men a lot, and he wasn't black. So he was blacked up. You see, he's the king of the, on Skull Island in the original 1933 King Kong. He's the king on that island when they get there, who spots Fay Ray. Ooh, want you for him, because he actually is King Kong from the 1933 original. My God, the symmetry that I've evoked here. You think I just throw these things together? I do, and they regularly fall apart at the seams. helped by this. So when they don't match up, Noble Johnson, who is a hulking brute who looks very ape-like and simian to begin with, will just, with a big axe, he'll cut the ropes, a trapdoor will open, and the body drops into the Seine. Whereupon they're fished out, and they're in the morgue, the Rue Morgue, wherein, I forget his name, Pierre, I forget who plays him. Hang on a minute, I can find out for you. Leon Ames plays Pierre, who looks like Jason King. Another nod to the oldies amongst you there. Jason King, Peter Wingard. So he's very flamboyant, he's got curly hair, and he's an obsessive medical student. And of course, like all medical students, they're often found down the morgue, aren't they? Slipping a few shekels to the morgue attendant, needing bodies for experiments and study. Yeah, right. Oh, aye. But this guy has realised that, hang on, all these bodies seem to have the same mark on the arm. And if I could just get a sample of the blood of the latest victim, maybe we could tie this all together. There could be some kind of connection to these bodies we're fishing out. And of course there is, because they've all been used in these failed experiments, trying to find Eric the performing ape, a new mate. Things will obviously come to a head when Pierre and his roommate, a bit of a late chubster and a bit of a comedian, and their girlfriends visit the carnival, and they watch exotic dances, they see this, they see that, and then they get suckered in to see this incredible, frightening ape, the missing link, Eric, and Dr. Miracle, Bela Lugosi. That's Bela Lugosi as you see in White Zombie. But it still looks pretty good, because in this film he has really massively, bushy eyebrows and kind of mad curly hair as well. It's an unusual look for him, to be honest. But he's great in the role. And he's got his ape Eric in the cage, who he talks to and translates for the audience. But he explains in a daring move for the people of this day and age, well, that day and age, that he's a product of evolution. They're all aghast. No, oh, Palestine, you can't do this, riots, no. But yeah, that's what he's saying. And he, in a very kind of mysteriously odd move, a very sort of James Bond, supervillain, unleashing their fiendish plot upon everybody, before they actually do it, but telling everyone what it's going to be. He tells everyone what he's trying to do. There's an audience full of people there, and he's going like, hey, he needs a mate. Anyone want to be a mate of, Eric? You're lovely. And he puts the eye, definitely a very Dracula Mesmer stare, onto Pierre's girlfriend, who is played by, talk amongst yourself, Sydney Fox. And she is lovely. And he coaches them forward when everyone else leaves in a fury about this effrontery to religion. And Eric definitely does take a shine to it. And he leans out and he takes her bonnet off. And then Pierre tries to leap in. Hey now, you ape. Unhand my lady's bonnet. That's not a euphemism. And it then tries to throttle him. And only when he breaks free and Bela Lugosi's Dr. Miracle, stops him. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Fuck the fact that my ape almost killed you, but let me get you a new bonnet. And they're like, no, don't worry about the throttling, but and the bonnet, it's okay. No. It was a lovely bonnet. I'll get you another one with all the frills attached, and you must let me send it to you. What's your address? So they're like, no, we're not giving you the address. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. So as they walk off, he's like, to Noble Johnson, who's all, why no one pays any attention to this guy with big shaggy eyebrows, bushy sort of shaved down afro hair, and very swarthy skin, and a huge amount of bulk to him. Why no one pays him any heed? He gets him to follow, find out where she lives. You know what's coming next. So later on, he does send the bonnet to her, which she's meant to and a little note, please come and see me, because Eric needs to see you. It's very important. Hang on, so there's a note there. This is a note telling me about this fucking giant ape that almost killed my boyfriend, who wants to see me. Come to the carnival after closing time at midnight. Fuck off. Anyway, Pierre does go, and he says, he's not coming to see you, but thanks for the bonnet anyway. Looks lovely on me. So obviously, Bela Lugosi, Dr. Miracle, and I was going to say Ross Noble then, who is a comedian. Noble Johnson get their carriage and off they go to the address, because they now know where she lives, obviously, because you found the address. And they unleash Eric to go and get her. And in so doing, he kills her mother, kidnaps her, and then in a big mad finale, the police and all the citizens, in a universal staple of having a crowd pursuing the madman, the monster, the whatever, they all storm his place. But because, the ape does fancy, what's her name in it? I forgot what her name is. Camille. Because the ape does fancy her, it then gets into a bit of a shockwave tussle with Dr. Miracle, and it kills him. So it kills his master, Bela Lugosi, and then grabs the girl and goes off onto the rooftops in a scene which would be recaptured in a lot of movies, carrying, the damsel across rooftops. I mean, you'd even see it in Hammer's Curse the Werewolf, although he wasn't carrying a woman, he was just jumping like an acrobat from roof to roof to roof, because obviously werewolves do that, don't they? But still a great frantic finale. But it's great as well, the way you see him going across the roofs and trying to climb, very King Kong like. King Kong would come the next year, and he's climbing up like a drain pipe, and it comes loose, and they're like, ah, all the crowd, because he's got the girl over his shoulder. Pierre, in the meantime, has got a gun, run upstairs and get on another rooftop, and the river is just down there, and they're on the precarious edge of the rooftop. What's he going to do? The ape puts the girl down, she slides down the roof, she's hanging on for dear life. The ape runs at Pierre, and Pierre just... Poof. A great shot, or an ape shot. And poor old Eric tumbles into the river, never to be seen again. Well, until the guy that plays him, the great Charles Gomorrah, who deserves a video of his own. I'll come on to that in a minute. But until Charles Gomorrah puts the ape suit on for another movie straight after this, and then for the next couple of decades he would do nothing but ape movies. But Medicine in the Rue Morgue is a very loose telling of Edgar Allan Poe story, but it's a great atmospheric, barely over an hour, little chiller thriller. Bela Lugosi is fabulous. As always, I can't stand it these days when people are always comparing him to Karloff. I mean, I know it's inevitable, but Karloff's far better, far more range. Bela Lugosi couldn't act. Bela Lugosi damn well could act. He wasn't given much of an opportunity to once Dracula became such a phenomenal success. And of course, after Dracula, he was offered the part of Frankenstein's monster, which he turned down because he thought, I'm going to get typecast. I'm not playing a monster with no fucking lines. I'm not going to do it. So, and Robert Florey, who directed Medicine in the Rue Morgue, was meant to direct, obviously, Frankenstein. So when Bela said no, Florey went as well, and in stepped James Whale and Boris Karloff, and of course, a legendary, absolute, infinitely better film than the original Dracula was unleashed upon the world. But Florey immediately was offered as a sort of well, here's your second prize, like your booby prize. You've got Medicine in the Rue Morgue, and for my money, it's well worth it. There are some stagey moments, obviously, but it is violent. There's a knife fight in it. There's the definite taboo-breaking idea of bestiality, of necrophilia. There's all this sort of stuff is bubbling under the pot there. Street ladies, in it, tampering with bodies, all this sort of stuff. Medical hocus pocus, and this whole theory of evolution, which was still a shocking, thing back in that day to certain cinema goers. But it's also, on this edition, there are two versions of the movie. There is a reconstructed version, as well as the one that, they look fantastic, by the way. The high def presentations are absolutely superb. Only a couple of scenes where there's a bit of snap, crack and popple, snap, crack and popple, snap, crack, snap, pop and crackle, or whatever it is. Good God, sir, you started early. Bravo, I say. But otherwise, it's an exemplary presentation. But as an Easter egg, they offer what is this reconstructed version where it's slightly rearranged, the scenes are put in a different order. Not many of them, but it changes the opening and of the film and the thrust and the pace of the movie, because the original version is very, very sort of sluggish, very slow. But by restaging things and having the knife fight near the start and a bit more sort of what's really going on, it adds a bit more pace and momentum to it, and it works. And I think it's tremendous. Apart from the fact that one of those things that Universal, and not just Universal, but a lot of studios in that day and age, couldn't resist doing, they would put in lots of comedy, unnecessary comedy. Dracula had a little bit of it. Frankenstein definitely had it, and obviously Bride of Frankenstein was full of it, but that was so brilliantly achieved by James Whale, with that refined British taboo-breaking homosexual etiquette of his, the blackly comic, sarcasm and cynicism really, really worked the treat. In this, it's more slapstick, and there's a sequence of, it just goes on forever, seemingly, in a very short film as well, where when the ape has actually kidnapped Camille and killed her mother, fled across the rooftops and that, you've got three various witnesses who come in, all saying, because Bela Lugosi's Dr. Miracle did try to gain access to a room first, to say, look, I'm sorry, but you need to come with me now. And she just shuts the door in his face, right, send the ape. But because they've overheard his voice, and the suspects in this case, obviously, one saying he had a Danish accent, a Swiss accent, a German accent, and all these guys are from, Switzerland, Finland, Daneland, and Germany, and it goes through this, and you're like, God, just cut to the chase, will you? Which obviously they will inevitably do, and what a chase it is. But so you get moments like that, plus you get a moment of Pierre in his room, his lodgings, with his fat mate, whose name I can't remember, who's actually pretty good, and he's a medical student too, or I think he is anyway. And Pierre is like just laboriously at his test tubes, his microscope, making notes, which are really big for us to see of, of cellular structure of blood and little diagrams and arrows pointing to this, ape, human, and he's working away, and his mate's making a big sort of spaghetti bolognese or something, and he's trying to tempt him to food, and throughout the entire sequence, Pierre says nothing and just completely ignores him, and you left this little chubster to make up for all this, literally 5, maybe 6 minutes of screen time, with just waffle, and that sort of thing. You're like, God almighty, why? There's even a song in it as well, when Pierre and Camille and the fat mate and his girlfriend, fat mate, flatmate, and all their entourage go for the picnic by the Seine, and they're all, you see a montage of all the fellas trying it on with all the girls. It's brilliant, but it's daft at the same time. The camera work is by Karl Freund. Karl Freund is legendary cinematographer. He would do The Mummy, he would do Mad Love, he would do many, many fantastic movies. Now, this film is it's supposed to be Edgar Allan Poe. It owes more to The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the silent classic of, the somnambulist who goes across the rooftops with a woman in his arms, and turns on his own master, who's been, instructing him and ordering him against his will to do his bidding. And the sets, of course, are very expressionistic in that movie. A lot of it's just paintwork, usually in rooms, to make them very angular and strange and create weird shadows and off-kilter geometry. But the roofs are all what would now become the staple sort of set design for Tim Burton's movies. Spires that sort of go off at angles and turrets and stuff, like very fairy tale, very gothic. That was Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and this film definitely was inspired by that, because you've got these great rooftops of all these weird spires and turrets and gabled roofs and slanted, structures, all very gothic and strange and darkly fairy tale, and it's really exciting to look at, very wonderful to see. And the camera work, as I say, is exemplary. Even a simple shot of Pierre and Camille, who are on their balcony, and the camera is on the inside looking out at them, and it's funny how he couldn't say a single word to his mate, But whenever like Camille is there, you go fucking shut up, you know. Oh, your eyes are like the stars. There is moon dust in your hair. That could be dandruff, you know. And he's laying it on super thick, and she's adoring all this. Like, but the camera in the meantime does this slow sort of panning move. But what it does, it enables you to see them in the sort of mid-ground, framed by the French windows. Well, we're in France, aren't we? And then you see all these rooftops outside. And they are constructed, they are there on the set. And it's truly breathtaking to look at. In another great shot, which definitely sort of maybe inspires, but certainly predates by many decades, the wonderful Luoma crane. The camera's on a Luoma crane from Tenebrae, Dario Argento's Tenebrae, where the camera goes up and over the roof of a building where a double murder is about to take place, and it is breathtaking to watch. It gives you vertigo as well. In this, when Dr. Miracle tries to woo Camille again, and she's not done it like, oh sorry, he sees them. That same shot, actually, he sees them from the other side. They're on the balcony, and he's down below in the shadows, hidden in the shadows around this little a nook or a cranny, one of them. And he's looking around like that, and the camera looks at him, and then comes across the cobbled street, looks up the street, and then rises up like that, up the side of Camille's apartment building, and then centres on them, and then comes back down again in one shot to take in Bela Lugosi's reactions. It's wonderful. It's adventurous. It's innovative. Now nowadays in films, you see it all the time, but when you see it when it's been done for the first time, it's like, wow, that's really creative. There's another shot as well at this big picnic sequence. You've got a lengthy shot of Camille on a seesaw, and swinging the seesaw for it is Pierre, ever the loyal lapdog. Oh God, yeah. But again, he's pledging his love to her, and the camera is sitting on a little sort of stool propped against the seat she's on. Basically, as she's swinging up, it's kind of balanced on her feet, so she's coming way up to you, way up to you, and this goes on, and it's really good. It works. Sorry, she doesn't come up to you. The camera's with her, so you are swinging with her, and it's just so breathtakingly done. I love the way that as well, he's just wooing her, and she's enjoying the sun and all that, and the Parisian breeze lifting the tassels on her bonnet and her many frills. But the minute she mentions, the new bonnet came from Dr. Miracle, and he's like, what? And he stops her. She's like, what? So, Charles Gomorrah, the guy who wears the ape suit. Now, this is a tragedy for this film. It would have been one of the things which made it one of the best movies of its era. Charles Gomorrah from Manila, who had a very strange upbringing. As I say, I might do a video on this guy because he's fascinating. He is he's the father of the ape man in movies, because he had a gift for making ape masks and costumes. And as his career would go on, he would go to zoos and he would study these animals. Way before Andy Serkis ever did mocap and all that sort of stuff as King Kong and Gollum and the new Planet of the Apes movies. He would do the same sort of thing, but he would craft these elaborate gorilla suits with these really detailed, emotive faces, which could be tragic but and realistic, but could also be very horrifying, because apes were by and large used as a feature of horror movies, as a monster. And you'd see them in things like for the Marx Brothers, for Laurel and Hardy, for the Ritz Brothers as well, but in many horror films, and it was him that did it. Charles Gomorrah also worked with Lon Chaney Sr. and actually helped him do some of his makeup effects. Everyone goes, oh no, it was just Chaney himself. No, he did have assistants, and Charles Gomorrah was one of them. At the age of 19, he was helping him, But and the problem with this movie is that, again, the Hays Code got involved. Universal themselves, the producers, began to get leaned on by, look, this film's breaking a few rules here, and test audiences do not like the look of that gorilla. It's terrifying. So you only ever see that costume and that face in long shots, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant evocative face, full of rage and pathos. And I've got lots of images from the film where you can see that mask. But in the film, they stupidly replace all the many close-ups of him actually in action doing stuff with a real chimp. A chimp. He's meant to be a gorilla, a missing link gorilla, looking not too dissimilar from that, and he replaced it with a live-action chimp. And it really is terrible. And even the audience at the time must have gone like, that's not the same thing. And you are diluting the tension and the horror of these sequences by doing things like that. And it is such a shame that his painstaking work was not seen. However, people in the know, people in the industry did see it. So he was never sure to work again after that. Rick Baker, the great Rick Baker, American Werewolf in London, Schlock, King Kong, he was massively influenced by Charles Gomorrah. And I'd say Andy Serkis was too. But and I think it's Mark Chambers who did the 8 masks for Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes. And you know, he was massively influential in this whole thing of monster mask creation, and also but reenacting it too. Tremendously good stuff. Like, so again, this film, there's 2 versions on this disc. The presentation is great. You've got commentary tracks. You've got a great interview with the awesome Kim Newman, who is that you think I talk fast and blah, 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 don't shut up. Listen to him, my God. But he's far more articulate, of course. That's because he's not drinking this stuff. Kim, this might make you feel better as you're doing these interviews. But it's a great box set. The other 2 films in it are The Black Cat and then The Raven. I will definitely be covering both of those movies on a viewing platform of your choice very, very soon. Well, not your choice. It's going to be YouTube, isn't it? So, but in the meantime and the in-between time, please do try to pick this up. And nicely, it's certificate 15, so it shows you these are not the quaint, cosy horror films that many people think they are. And in fact, what's coming next in The Black Cat, oh my God, and then The Raven, Jesus. The Raven is the one that burst the banks. Even though it's kind of a bit OTT, and it's not as really damaging as the themes that are prevalent in The Black Cat, but all these ideas seem to dovetail into The Raven, and that was it. That blew the gaskets. The Hays Code was brought in, H for horror in the UK, and that was it. These films were kind of outlawed, so you didn't get horror films for a good few years afterwards. They snuck a few around, made them subversive thrillers and stuff like psychological dramas or supernatural yarns with a romantic angle to them. But out-and-out horrors were kind of, massively, don't go near. But Murders in the Rue Morgue, I would plump for the reconstructed version over the original version. I know that sounds wrong because the original version is the original, it's the classic, but I think as a viewing experience it actually does flow better. However, it does create a continuity error, which you'll see, but it's, I can't knock that. My entire life is a big continuity error, so, I can live with it. But, well recommended. That's a limited box set. I went to buy it initially and it had gone. Eureka themselves had sold out and Amazon had sold out. I was like, shit. And then he must have got another stock in. And not only that, they brought the price down as well. So if I were you and you're remotely interested in this, get on to Amazon now. Or maybe Eureka as well. I don't know. They might have it back in stock. I don't know. It was limited to... just 10 copies. Oh, shit. No, I don't know. There's a few thousand. I don't know. But if you're remotely interested in this, do look on those sites now and try and get yourself a copy. Well worth it. The presentation is superlative. The extra features are great. And I haven't even begun on the extra features yet. So, folks, in the meantime, and indeed that halcyon, twinkly, black and white hinterland we call the in-between time, please do take it easy. Keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. Watch out for horny apes. And that's never changed, has it? Man really is just a big, fat, hairy, horny, missing link. So, Bella, you were onto something back then. Dr. Miracle, So, Bella, I salute you, sir. And this is the Bela Lugosi trilogy. So, plenty more Lugosi to come. Folks, take it easy. Be happy, be healthy. And I'm going to see you all later. It's a cold and a wet out here.